go, Liam. What's that?
Hello, all you Porky International fellows. We're joined by Mark today. How are you, Mark?
All right, Russ. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Thanks for coming on. We'll get stuck straight in. What do you think to Keir Starmer's current opinion on what we need to do with diesel cars? Because he's saying they're going to outlaw diesel in this country in the next 4 years.
Well, this is all part of this net zero campaign, which they've been pushing towards, which has been proven, time and time again to be an absolute waste of time. They're going to make our country poorer, and not we'll not be able to compete with like say Russia, China, South America, India. So it's absolute nonsense, and I don't think people will acquiesce to it. I don't think they will. I mean, would you give up your diesel easily, or your petrol?
Well, no, I've got two diesel cars, me, and I think that I don't think cars would be the problem. What about all the haulage trucks in the country?
Exactly. It's just not viable at all. And I think what they're doing is it's an agenda what's being pushed through by EU and other globalist movements. And I think what people should be doing is asking who's behind this. It's not Starmer. Starmer is just a gopher. He's not even a gopher. He's just a front man. He does as he's told through civil service, and the civil service do as they're told through the globalists, the technocrats, the big farmers, the big food. So Starmer's just a front man. He's like a salesman. He's not even a shop manager as such. But you've got to start asking yourself why, who's instigating it, and why are they putting this fear into our children about this climate change. These are the big questions what people need to be asking, in my opinion. And anybody who goes against it is called they start calling people names. They're calling them climate deniers. And they're putting fear into people, into the children. And the children are I mean, lots of kids, lots of teenagers and things like that, and Gen Zs, they think it's going to be end of world in 20 years, 30 years. It's absolutely ridiculous what they've done. And these people and these children are putting pressure on their parents because, I don't know if you've noticed, Russ, but kids seem to rule the roost these days. It's the kids who, it's true. It's the kids what dictate to their parents. Back in my day, you did what your mum and dad told you. You didn't stand there and demanding that they deal with certain political policies when you're in your teenagers. Russ, you didn't even think about politics, did you? When you were you didn't think about geopolitics. When you were like, 12, 13, 14, you were out on your bike with football under your arm, weren't you?
Yeah, you were out all day, mate. I'd come home from school, gobble my tea down, and that'd be it. My mum would have to come and shout at me about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
When you went to bed at night, you weren't laid there thinking about climate change, were you? Or watching videos of Greta Thunberg, or whatever they call her. Yeah. You were just looking forward to. There's a book out on market. If anybody's interested, it's called The Anxious Generation, and it's been wrote for this generation. What's gone? Our Liam's age and probably younger to get thing. Children have never been as anxious as they are now because what they're doing is they're processing information on top of information on top of information. There's a lot of this fear. This is all connected to what your main topic, what you spoke about, that they're going to try and outlaw diesel through this net zero. But it's all why, kids might ask, why are they going to outlaw diesel? And they'll say, because, and the powers that be will say, because diesel cars are basically going to kill us all in 30, 40 years' time. So it's all catastrophic nonsense. But what people ought to be asking themselves is who's instigating it, who's pushing it through. Why aren't China doing it? USA now under Trump, he's going to drill for oil. He's going to drill for oil. He's going to keep going with consumables. So why aren't we doing the same? We're going to make ourselves poorer, and we're not going to be able to compete with these larger nations. We through coal and oil, we forged the world, the British Empire, engineering. People came to Britain. We forged the world as it is, the modern world today. This little tiny country of ours, through coal, through steam. So that's what you got. People ought to be asking themselves, Russ, who's instigating this, and are they trying to bring down our great nation by doing this? You're trying to decimate European countries through this climate nonsense.
Well, they're not now, are they? At the moment, it's we're not ruling anything, are we?
No, but this is what I'm saying. Over the last 20 years, I don't know if you've noticed, there's a definite attack on our British culture, our once great empire. So the powers that be are decimating it, and through one way or another, all those industries have gone, Russ. I mean, people must have noticed this. All those industries, cars, shipbuilding, mines, engineering, it's all gone abroad. And this is something what's just not happened. It's not a natural progression. This is something what's been planned and orchestrated by the powers that be to destroy a nation state. And I think people now ought to start taking a little look at the big picture, not just these little headlines what pop up. We're going to do this, we're going to stop the boats, because it's just buzzwords. They're just buzzwords just to think. But if you look behind them and look at the big picture, follow the dots. You know, I used to do the dot to dots, and you followed them, didn't you? Can you remember them? And if you
I remember them as a kid.
Yeah, well, if you join them dots up and all these little things what happening and go back, and you'll see the big picture. And the big picture is that they're leaning towards a globalist society. This is why they want a cashless society. It's all linked, Russ. It's all linked, but they're doing it through fear at the moment. So that's where I'm at, and I hope if anybody is listening that they can hopefully do a little bit of digging themselves. You don't have to dig too deep, and it's common sense, most of it, that this is net zero. Stopping diesel cars is just going to make us uncompetitive and a poorer nation by far, and I think that's what they want. I really do. I mean, by mass immigration, they've already cutting down our what they call it. So I lost my train of thought there. Our wages. By this mass immigration, our wages are being decimated for the indigenous population. So it's all saying we're going to be uncompetitive. We're going to be a poorer country, and a poorer country who's in need is easy to control by, once again, the powers that be, the globalists. So that's where I'm at with that, Russ. It's. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'm a painter and decorator, uneducated, never left school with no qualifications at all, right? And I sometimes think to myself, well, if I can sort of work it out, and I'd be classed as a sort of bit of a thicko, no qualifications, just a painter and decorator. And I speak to other guys who's in trades, and they all get in it, but nobody seems to be able to want to speak out, or they're frightened to speak out in case they get shot down by somebody who they deem to be more educated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I agree with you 100% there. But getting back to what you said about they're outlawing money, I was in a restaurant in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago, and they refused me and her cash. They said no, it's card only, and I think that's a sign of things to come. Me do so they can control everything.
Correct. Cash is freedom. It always has been. It always has been. Well, you've got cash, you've got freedom. They'll say it. They'll say like everything else. When they want to start changing laws, they'll say it's for your own safety. We're stopping it certain internet things because it's we're protecting the children. They're not protecting children. They're controlling you. Same with cash. They want the cash. Stop. They'll say, well, we're trying to stop money laundering because of all these criminals and all these criminal gangs, which I get that. I mean, there's a lot of cash floating about in that system. I know there is. I get that. But it's not about that. It's about getting rid of cash. So everybody, they know what everybody's doing. They know what everybody, all self-employed, right? They know everything about you and they can nail it. And also, who's to say? Think about this. I know we're thinking about big picture again, but who's to say that if you all you're dealing with is credit, or your credit cards and these numbers floating around the internet, who's to say if you've got a political point which disagrees with government, who says that they're not going to shut you down and basically cut you off, switch you off, like they did? Do you remember truckers in Canada when they decided they were not going to acquiesce to the vaccine mandate in Canada? Can you remember that, Russ?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So they all went into Canada's capital, right? And they couldn't do anything about it. They'd all got these big 18-wheeler rigs, right? And they just go steaming into it, thinking coppers couldn't stop them and things like that. But you know what they did? And they also got crowdfunded by other Canadians. So there were millions and millions of pounds going into these crowdfundings. And also, so what they did is they stopped they cut the throat, basically. They stopped all the finances. So all these haulage companies who were taking part in these protests, they put a block on all the finances on the bank accounts, and that's how they stopped it. And that's what you've got with a cashless society. So it's almost like a stranglehold on you, and we've got to fight it. We've got to fight it with every last breath. We've got to fight this tyranny because it is a tyranny. This is what I believe. Going back to, like I say, like I class myself as uneducated, whereas I never sort of pursued an academic career or anything like that. Yeah, but this is how I view sort of, and this is not all kids, but all these kids who go to university, like this is how your modern education works. This is it is to me. So kids will sit an exam, right, at university or whatever, and what they're doing basically is they can accurately repeat what they've been told and read, and how to follow orders. And if they accurately repeat that in an exam or by verbally, then they'll become a graduate, and they'll get whatever they get. They get the little mortarboard and stuff like that, and then they get a little picture what the nan can stick on the wall and things like that. But all they've done basically is repeated what they've been told to repeat by the powers that be. But the frightening thing is, for me, is that then these kids, not all, but some of them, but then they're that thick that they then think that makes them smarter than everybody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It makes them think that because they've done what they've been told and they repeat it in an exam, it makes them think that they now are smarter than me, painter and decorator, bricklayer. And most of the people I speak to, I'll tell you some of the best conversations I've had when I've talked to homeless people in the street, kids who's got nothing, they've been through it, ex-squaddies and things like that. They get what's happening better than any of these educated people. As I say, I've got to emphasise, not all, because I find a lot of people are frightened to speak out because
I'm fucking not.
Exactly, you're not, and neither am I, Russ, because I work for myself.
What do you think, Mark, about these people that are on the streets and that are homeless, and then they've got other people coming over here from other countries, and we're putting them in nice hotels and giving them interpreters and cars and benefits and things like that? What do you think to that?
Well, I think it's disgusting. There's no other word for it. It's just wrong. If it's wrong, it's wrong, and I think most people know it's wrong. The only people who you probably get an argument with is some sort of
Lefty.
Yeah, well, I don't like to call them lefties. It's like name calling, isn't it? And you're buying into what they want you to do. They want conflict.
Well, it's woke brigade, isn't it?
The woke brigade are, but a lot of them who are protesting outside these migrant hotels, they're all bought and paid for. They rent them up, aren't they?
Yeah.
They all turn up in a wagon. In fact, they even bust in. They bust in, aren't they? They all meet up on a certain thing, and then coppers turn up and they protect them, and then and that's where we are with it. But I do believe that, these people who are out on the streets, they especially ex-military and things like that. But anybody who's ended up on their arse, You know what I mean? Anybody can end up on the horse, Russ, can't they? You
Of
know what
course
I
they
mean?
can, mate.
You know, if they make a wrong turn when they're young uns and they end up, you know, maybe having a few some solvent abuse or whatever, some drug abuse, and then before they know it, it grabs them. It grabs them, and that's it. Some people have a safety net. Some people have a family who'll maybe get them out of it, but a lot of people don't, and that's where they end up, and they forgot about. But yeah, going back to these migrants, do you think? How would you stop? Let me just ask you something. How would you stop these migrants coming across?
Well, main thing is you'd have boats, wouldn't you, patrolling beaches. And as soon as they come in, you nab them and send them back on a boat, like they do in Australia. They just put
Correct.
them back on a Qantas flight where there's free seats. They've got to deal with Qantas, and they send them back, and they keep doing
Correct.
it. It's
Nah,
not rocket science, is it? It's cheaper
exactly.
to put them on a boat or back on a plane than it is to keep them for years. And we all legal aid they want because they just plead
Correct.
asylum, don't they? And the funny thing is, you've got these lawyers that are going to milk it for legal aid. So they're the problem, the lawyers,
Correct.
the
It's become.
politicians, in my opinion.
It's That's right. It's become an industry. But the basic principle of returning these people is quite simple, isn't it? Like you just said, it's quite simple. You get a patrolling
Send
thing,
them back.
send them back, turn boats round. It's quite simple, and I think anybody would be able to do it.
Well, we're
If it were left,
bursting at seams now, aren't we? We can't get in on NHS. I've had 7 private operations altogether because I was sick of waiting for stuff on NHS, and eventually it got me
correct.
down. And the
Yes,
NHS is a joke. The prison system's bursting at its seams. I had a look this morning, 104,000, and that's all we've got places for 105,000. And the jails are now that chocker that they're having to spill over into container units in the police stations. Now, if you go back to 1991, we only had 35,000 in prison. So
yes.
something in the last 35 years isn't working, is it?
What I would like to know is, we got two options. You either build more prisons, or some people who are convicted are not going to go to prison, are they? And they should be going to prison.
Yeah.
What I would like to know the true statistics of how many of these current prisoners are foreign nationals, and how many should have been. Because I mean, even if you've got a visa, I thought if you broke the law, you were deported. I thought that was
No, because
part
they
of
hide behind lawyers, don't they, now in this country? Because we
exactly,
have human rights, don't we?
exactly. So it's become a lucrative industry, hasn't it,
But for lawyers.
for lawyers, for gangs. Politicians like to talk about it. They just waffle on. Uh, they just talk absolute nonsense because all they are, all your politicians are today are career politicians. They come straight out of university and they're very good at what they do. I don't know if you've noticed that they're very good at not answering questions,
Yeah.
straight questions. I mean, that's what they're trained to do. They're not politicians. They don't make policies. The front bench, the cabinet, they're like snake oil salesmen. They're just like second-hand car salesmen now. That's bad. That's
Well,
second-hand
when they
car
put it on
salesmen.
them, these politicians, when they get it put on them in House of Commons,
Yeah,
they never give an answer. If I said to Boris Johnson or whoever, any of these shithouses, what mark would you give yourself out of 10
yes.
for you running the country the last 12 months? What mark would you give yourself out of 10? They wouldn't give you an answer because if they said 10, I'd say, well, you're having a laugh, aren't you? You've got no right. And if they said 1, I'd say, well, why don't you resign? So it's a question that they can never answer. So they take you down other avenues. But these
They'll deflect.
people, eh?
Sorry. All I'm saying is that what they'll do is they'll deflect it and say, well, yeah, but we're not as bad as them who were in before. Look what
Yeah,
they did.
that's it. It's like an on.
Yeah.
It's like a cliche, isn't it? That's what
It's
all they
like
do.
they play top trumps who were biggest shithouses. Like they were worse than us. But a lot of them are they trained orators. That's all they are. They're not people who's like Farage says. I mean, whether you like Farage, I'm not giving Farage I'm not giving him a what do you call it, slap on back here. But what I'm saying is, can you remember when we got out of European Parliament? Well, we didn't
Yeah,
get out. We didn't get out really, did we? We're still in it, aren't we? If truth be
yeah.
known. But can you remember when he stood up and we were leaving? It was his like last day, weren't it? And he basically says, "There's not one of you in here who's had a proper job." Not one of you
Yeah.
who's done us got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and come home covered in chuffing brick dust or coal dust or done a shift in steelworks. I mean, I'm only citing sort of where I was brought up in either mines or mining communities or steel community. There's not one who's sort of worked this way up from, you know, maybe an apprentice in an engineering company to become an MD in a engineering company. And that's what basically we're saying. All them people there were career politicians, right? They've no idea. All they know how to do is spin and spin and spin, right? They don't create policies because all policies are created by other people above them. These sort of globalists, and it's passed down through civil service. It's the civil service what implements most of the policies and pushes things through. But this is where we are, like you say, with politicians. You're not going to get a straight answer because they are trained to deflect and to answer these sorts of questions. So that's where we're at the moment. But once it go on, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate.
But won't it be good for people if they could just sort of do just become a little bit more aware of big picture and not sort of jump on these buzzwords and things like that? Because have you noticed every day there's something else what they'll be pumping you with, and it all brings your mood. Have you noticed it all brings your mood down? It all produces fear and anxiety. And what if this happens? What if that happens? So people generally are walking about with a sort of black cloud over their head, not quite knowing what's going to happen. You know, what's my future? What's my future for my kids? And it lowers your mood. And that's go on, sorry. And that's a purpose. That's they have a department of sort of human psychology in government. I mean, these are actual departments. These are like, they've got boffins sat there working out how they can alter the whole nation's mood. It's not fantasy, that. This is how they control people. As I say, anybody who's listening, and they can just take a bit of time, if it's just half an hour, to look at. There's loads of independent journalists who's digging things up. They don't get airtime on mainstream media because all mainstream media stuff is bought and paid for. Apart from BBC, who we fund, don't we? But ITV, they're all bought and paid for. They're businesses, so they can't speak out because they'll just go bust. So if people can get out and just do a bit of listening to independent journalists, people who's whistleblowers, lots of whistleblowers now are coming out and they started their own podcasts on Substack and things like this. Have you ever heard of a thing called Column News, a broadcasting station called Column News? No. Well, if anybody gets a chance, they do in-depth coverage on most things. It's just a little thing to listen to if anybody's got half an hour of things like that. I listen to a lot because while I'm working, decorating, and sometimes it gets a bit boring. I've got about 25 door sides to do. So I'll listen to things and I'll take it in. Going back to climate change, though, Russ, why can't we have a national TV debate? Why have there never been one? It's got to be. This is what it is, and you don't argue with me. So why can't they have a national debate where they have people who are saying that we're doomed, and then why can't we have some esteemed, what they call it, scientists on the other side who's going to tell you why climate change is a hoax? But why can't they have these debates and let people like just a normal bloke who sat there watching his telly, having his tea? Why can't they let them decide who they believe?
I don't know, mate.
Right.
I don't know. Go on.
That's where I'm at with just how things are at the moment.
Okay. We'll finish off on this one then, Mark.
Right.
They've cancelled the ID cards, haven't they, that they were going to do it? We're going to be Tony Blair's son who owns the company, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They've cancelled it now. What do you think to that? I mean, it was stupidness anyway, wasn't it? It's a bit like trying to get people to go for a COVID jab now. Nobody would go, would they?
No. Well, COVID Nah, that's another story. 'Cause, I mean, I could go on for hours about that. I mean, my belief is that it were a hoax, but then
Yeah.
again, it's just that's just my opinion. That's what we're doing, isn't it? This is just
Yeah.
opinions, isn't it? Right. So the the COVID uh, debacle, well, basically the blueprint for these ID cards. Do you remember they tried to do all track and trace, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I'd say millions and millions of people, they went for it. You know, they were writing the numbers down. They went. I remember going for a coffee and a scone up at Dobby's, and he says that I've got to take your mobile number and I've got to take this before you can have your coffee and a scone. I said, what are you going to do with that? Well, it's so we can track and trace you. And I thought, I don't think so. So I did what I did. I just put a false number down, right? Because that's what everybody were doing. Because they don't want people. You don't give numbers away to a chuffing bloke serving the cappuccino, do you?
No.
But that were a blueprint for this ID scheme. That's it. And they thought if we could get it kicked off like that, and then I think what's happened is they've sort of kept putting it out, throwing a bit of corn down, see how chickens are sort of pecking at it, and they've realised that there's going to be a massive uh, objection to it. People are not going to acquiesce to this; they're going to fight it. So, and I think that's why they've just realised that and they've, like you said, they've backheeled it. But don't underestimate what that COVID and that lockdown were all about, because, and also they promoted, and they were also chasing for the cashless society. Can you remember when you used to go in, you said, we're not taking cash because of COVID and because you might have it on your fingers? And I said, well, you know that item I've just handed you, what you've just picked up,
Yeah.
I've got it. If I've got I've got one of these, this sort of deadly germ. You've just touched that item what I've just handed you, but yet you're not going to take cash off me. Nothing made sense, Russ, did it?
No.
Nothing made sense. But anyway, that's another thing, isn't it? COVID and all sorts of so-called theories. But that's where I'm at with it. And as I say, if anybody can, Russ, can I give that what do you call it, a little plug? What our Liam and me's doing at
Yeah, of course you can, mate. Go on.
Chris's. Well, what it is, we're starting a session on a Sunday night at King's Boxing Gym, which is Chris Smedley's gym. And what it is it's just a session, only an hour and a half, and it's for blokes who's struggling a little bit with mental health and basically stress. Because a lot of blokes are under stress. Well, lots of humans are, but a lot of blokes are under stress. This is primarily for blokes. And we thought if we could get blokes together, because I've suffered with mental health, Liam suffered with mental health, if we get blokes maybe coming down and doing a bit of a session, it's not about boxing. It's not about boxing. So if you've never been in a boxing gym or you've never done anything like that, don't be put off. It don't matter. All we're doing is get a bit of exercise and getting blokes together. And then at some point, have a chat about, you might offer something up, what you've been struggling with, and somebody might say, well, I suffer with that, and and then I found a bit of a solution. This is how I got through it, and things like this. And I think it's just a case of blokes, because blokes are struggling at the minute, Russ. Blokes have always struggled, but blokes are struggling more at the minute. I think they've lost their way. Society's changed dramatically in the last 30, 40 years. And men have lost their role in life a little bit. And I think that they are struggling. I think sometimes they feel a little bit lost. They don't quite know. They get cold. If they try and be men, and I don't mean bullies, I don't mean tyrants, if they just try and be men, they're called toxic males, aren't they? They go, oh, he's a toxic male.
God.
He's a misogynist. He tried to hold the door open for me. Do you know what I mean? It's like this sort of thing. And I think men are thinking, well, I don't know what to do. What do I do? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what. I mean, should I say this? Should I be saying this? And I think, men need to just say, no, this is what I am. So anyway, it's on a Sunday night. It's so me and Liam will be sitting down there, and we'll just put people through paces, and it's 6:30 on a Sunday night at King. So if you feel like coming down, if you feel a bit lost, or you just want a bit of exercise, and have a bit of a laugh, it'd be great to see anybody. Right, pal. That's is that all right to say that on?
Hello, yeah, of course it is, mate. I think that's King's Boxing Gym, Retford Road, Sheffield, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but don't be frightened if you've never been in a boxing gym. Don't be put off. It's not about, we're not interested in who can hit bag hardest, who's done this, who's done that. That's last thing. We don't want no egos at all. We're not interested in what car you're driving, how much money you're earning, what your bird looks like. Not interested.
I'm
We're not,
interested in what the bird looks like, though.
not interested in what the car looks like at all.
All right. Well, listen,
Anyway,
Mark, it's been a pleasure to have you on, mate. And
thank you.
it's been,
Well,
I'll have to have you on once a week. How's that?
yeah, I'm up for that. But thanks for allowing me to, get rid of a bit, vent a little bit. And I'm hopefully like, I, idea is like, somebody might be sat at home and think, hey, I've been thinking that. You know what I mean? Like we all have. Hey,
Yeah.
I've been thinking that, but I feel as though I'm on my own. I feel as though I can't send out.
Feel
Well, you
as though you
can.
daren't say out in case you get
Don't.
called racist or a hater.
My main thing is I tell everybody, don't self-censor. Don't self-censor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as you're not being vile or you're being really offensive or whatever, like, and most blokes, most men, they know, don't they? You know when it stops being a laugh and it starts being vindictive. You know the difference. But don't self-censor whatever you do. If you feel it, if you feel and you can articulate it in a reasonable way, then say it. And if people say, "Oh, I don't agree with that," well, say what? Hey, that's fair enough, and then walk away. Wish them well, shake their hand, and walk away. Thanks a lot,
Okay.
Russ.
No problem, mate. You take care, Mark. Cheers.
Thanks a lot. All the best.
Brilliant. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. This is Porky's International. I've put the Porky's Corner logo up there by mistake because I've not been on here for a while. I hope everybody's enjoyed Mark's point of view. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. If anybody wants to come on here and give their opinion on anything non-boxing, you're more than welcome. The email is porkycorner@mail.com. Everybody have a great Wednesday. Hop, hop, bang.